this life ain't fair. And I know that you're going nowhere. Well, don't blame me for what you've done, because I know that you are having fun.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast, exposing the real estate secrets your agent doesn't want you to know. Here's your host, Tom Clary.
Well, don't you just walk away. That's when I'll say.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast. I'm Tom Clary. I'm a real estate agent licensed here in lovely, lovely Los Angeles, California. The sun is out and things are looking gorgeous again. And speaking of lovely and gorgeous, we have a really great treat for you guys today. We're going to be talking to an incredible home interior designer by the name of Pamela Sandall. The work that she does to prepare houses before they go on the market is nothing less than spectacular. So I'm really excited to have her here. But first, we've got an old friend, my sidekick, the yin to my yang, Ron Bruno here. How are you doing today, Mr. Bruno?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thank you.
Good. You got some news for us this week?
I do. So this is, I like this concept. This is something that's different, and so I'll just start here.
Absolutely.
So here's the headline. This was in the LA Times towards the end of last year. So the headline is, "This company will help with a down payment, but it wants a stake in your home."
Okay, that's when I first heard it, there was that kind of initial reaction of, look, who's taking what from me and what and all that. But I have to say that if you hear it out, this is actually an intriguing concept. Why don't you go deeper into it and kind of explain what exactly that means?
Sure. So what this company does, the name of the company is Unison, and Unison, they are an investor.
Right.
So what they will do is, and I'll give you let's just take an example. Right. So let's say the home is worth $500,000. Right. And you have 10%.
Right.
So your only option is either mortgage insurance or taking out a second home equity line of credit.
Right.
HELOC.
Right.
So you can go ahead and set up the mortgage insurance. So that's one option. So you're putting down 10%, and then with the lender, it requires mortgage insurance. So that's one option. Or you could do the HELOC. But what this company's doing is they will actually match your 10%. Yeah. So what they'll do is, for a $500,000 purchase price, you put down 10, Unison puts down 10. So now your loan is 80 loan to value. Right. So the loan is $400,000. And what they'll do is they're going to take a share of the appreciation in the future plus their original investment.
Right. Now, just step back. What would that necessarily gain, folks? Now, I think this is really where the key to this topic is where you can gain. And basically, let me put it this way. If you have the 10% down that you bring to the party, then Unison brings in the 10%. You now have 20%. That means you don't have your mortgage insurance anymore.
That's correct.
So that means you get more buying power.
That's exactly correct. So what it looks like is, so I'm just plugging in the calculator. I have the calculator right here. So if you take the $500,000 purchase price and you look at what you would pay with mortgage insurance, and there's a lot of just items that, in terms of the simulation here, so bear with me, but let's just look at this. So if you had mortgage insurance and you were you had the loan where you were paying, the $450. Right. So your monthly payments would be $3,059. Right. So that's 4.5%. Right. Now, if you set this up with Unison, then what you're looking at is an 80 loan to value. So your mortgage at $400,000 plus you're not having to pay the mortgage insurance.
Right.
It's $2,530. So that's it reduces the monthly payment by $529.
Right. So you can either take that, and basically that's good. You have less of a nut to hit every month. Or the other option of that is that you can actually purchase more house, possibly at that.
Exactly.
Right.
So if we looked at it in those terms, so we look at what the buying power would look like. Let's go back to let's just take an example with a $75,000 of annual income. right? So
he's actually typing it in, folks.
I really am. It's true.
This isn't some sound effects guy in the back.
Nope, it's me typing along. So let's just say the available down payment, let's say $50,000, right? And the annual household income at $75,000. And we're comparing this to 90%, right, with the mortgage insurance.
Right.
So here's what this is pretty powerful. So with mortgage insurance, the max that you would be able to afford would be $459,679.
Okay.
Right? But with Unison, it's actually the home price. You can actually get the whole $500,000 with an annual household income of $75,000, right? And that's assuming the $50,000 down payment. And you can play with this calculator all you want online, right? You just go to myunison.com and play along with the numbers. But what this is allowing you to do is it is actually giving you two examples: saving $529 per month,
right,
as well as increasing your purchasing power. So if you look at your grid of available homes that you qualify for, where you're just putting down the 10%, it's a smaller piece. Right? But when you're able to increase your purchasing power, now you're expanding the grid, so you qualify for more homes. Right? So this is really what this product is for. It's for those that need to increase their purchasing power so that they get to go to bat at more opportunities that are out there. Or let's say they would love to put the 20% down, they don't have it, and they really could do without the mortgage insurance and use that for sending their kids off to college or...
And I'll go into that. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this, and kind of my point of view when Ron started, kind of brought this up and showed it to me. I have to say my initial reaction after going through the crash and going through all these crazy loan instruments that basically created this cluster, in the whole industry. My first reaction was, oh no, wait, whoa, what are you doing? This is a new thing, and somebody else is going to screw things up again, and all that. The other feeling then I had after that was, okay, you're taking my appreciation. I don't ever want to give you my appreciation. Why would I do that? And then I started really thinking about it. And this is actually an interesting tool that can be used in different situations. If you just reject it outright, you're not going to get the full use out of it. And the full use of it is, look, every tool, there's a tool made for every specific purpose. And what I really saw this is a really good example for this would be, okay, my kids are now 4 years old. If later on, let's say I want to get them into a better school district, well, then I would be able to potentially afford more house in order to get into that better school district, which then now I don't have to pay my kids' private school, right? Because I'm now in a better school district. I'm saving money there. I'm saving money by having more house. It makes sense there. There's actual circumstances where this makes a lot of sense. And let's say I'm in that younger age group that is finding it hard to create to find the down payment to really get into anything, especially in this area. I mean, it's inventory is so low and the low price is so high that it's difficult to get in your first place. And this is another way that tool. And by the way, one of the things that Ron you can go into a little bit deeper is you can buy yourself out of this.
That's right. So the way that it works is, okay, this sounds amazing. You have a company that's going to put in the extra 10%. There must be no catch. Well, yeah, of course there is, right? They're not doing this out of the goodness of their heart. Right. The reason why, so what they take at this is they are going to share in the appreciation when you sell the home. Right?
Not the equity.
Not the equity.
The appreciation.
The appreciation. So just going back to our scenario, the $500,000. Let's say in 10 years, the home appreciates to $600,000. So the appreciation is $100,000. The equity, after paying down 10 years of a mortgage, let's say it's $315,000, right? So you take your $600,000 sale price, you have your mortgage balance at $315,000. The gross equity available for this whole thing is $285,000. Unison, what they're going to keep is their original $50,000, right? We talked about the $50,000 they put in, plus 35% of their appreciation.
Right. And by the way, that's if you do it early in the process, right? You're going to be saving a lot more than if you wait. So let's say I guess the minimum is 3 years. You said
3 years. So yeah. So what you're able to do is you're able to buy them out. So you would pay back the original $50,000. So the original investment that they make, plus any appreciation. So we take the $500,000 and let's say it appreciated to $520,000. Right. So they're going to take 35% of that $20,000, which again, I have my nice little calculator
Tap,
here.
tap, 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 tap.
Times 0.35, so $7,000.
$7,000. So I think that the trick here in using this instrument would be something where you're getting out of it as soon as you possibly can. Because if you're going to hold on to this house for an extended period of time, which I would hope that everybody who is listening to this knows that that's my general philosophy. Buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. These people who jumped out, when things got bad, they lost their shirts and they never got it back. So I always say buy and hold. So if you buy and hold, you're going to pay them off after 3 years, as close to 3 years as possible. Well, they might get would you say 7,000 before?
So it would 7,000 would be the appreciation.
If you got 7,000,
assuming that it went up by 20,000
right.
in 3 years.
But in 30 years, that the house could be worth $200,000
exactly.
more. Pay it off as soon as possible. It's a technique for getting you in the door of a place that, whether or not you're having a problem getting in, first of all, or second of all, like I talked about, some sort of situation where it gets you something by getting into the bigger house.
That's right. And I looked even further into this. They have adjustments for making improvements to the home, right? So if you go in and you add a bathroom and the home appreciates by 20,000, they will actually adjust for that, so they don't share in that part of the appreciation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So there's all of these these
I had not heard that. That's actually an interesting part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So if you put some sweat equity into it, they're not grabbing that as well.
Correct. Correct.
Once again, definitely worth, if you find yourself in a situation where this might be something that would be useful for you, I don't know, I'd be checking it out.
Yeah, so it's a great article that that was in the LA Times, and I will say this, that there's only a handful of lenders in the country that are offering this, and Guaranteed Rate's one of them. So if you have any questions about this, you can certainly email me, ron.bruno@rate.com.
And this is just owner occupied, right?
Owner occupied only. Yes, so it does not apply to vacation or rental properties.
Okay. Got it. Great. Well, so I wanted to bring on our guest for today. I just can't say enough amazing things about Pamela Sandall. When it comes to home interior design, she is an artist, pure and simple. She's sort of what I like to call the anti-stager. She stages, but I mean, she really does an incredible job of keeping the original feel of the home without ripping out everything that makes it special in the first place. I was snooping around her bio, and it says that you've had your own design company since 2001, correct?
Correct.
2001. That's fantastic. And she's taught interior design classes as well.
Yes.
That's great. I've seen her work over and over, and it never ceases to impress me. You walk into the house and when you're doing the first listing presentation, and you kind of go, whoa, uh-oh. And then she goes to work, and you come back a bit later, and you go, whoa, but for a completely different reason. You just can't believe it. So I'm so happy to have you here today. Pamela, thanks so much for coming to the podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the very sweet words.
Well,
it's always nice to hear.
From the heart. I said in my first podcast that I only want to bring experts on that I vetted and I know can really give the absolute best service to my listeners. And so it is without a doubt that I highly, highly recommend them giving you a call. But let's talk a little bit about what was your background? Did you start? What did you start doing? Was it this, or was it?
Well, I have on my bio, I have a cute little, they have you do your bio and come up with something catchy.
Right.
So I had to think back, and true story, first home I ever designed was when I was 8 years old.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It was for Malibu Barbie.
Started a little early. Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got it.
Very great client, bit of a clothes horse.
Right.
But quiet. Didn't argue
Got a
very
great
much.
car, though.
Right?
She has a wonderful car.
Dream car. Mm-hmm.
And an elevator, right? Didn't they have an elevator?
I did not do that house.
Really?
I used to make the houses
My sister had the elevator.
No, I didn't do that.
Wow, okay.
No, because it's plastic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, made furniture, bedding, all that kind of stuff.
Got it.
And then we chatted a little bit about this, but my father worked in the field office for a development in Mission Viejo years and years ago.
Right.
And it was one of those where they had the spec homes and you could go in and pre-select all the different finishes and things like that. And I'm sure he was humoring me.
The 8-year-old, or well, you were 8 at that point?
No, I was about probably 13.
Oh, okay. Well, 13 still is quite young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, humor.
So I was coordinating these interiors. It was very fun.
He was encouraging. We don't use the word humor. It's encouraging.
And then I did, when I went to college, when I finished college, I did a stint in the retail world.
Okay.
And I worked for what you now know as Macy's.
Okay,
Macy's
got
for
it.
many years. I was a buyer.
Yeah.
And then I had two.
Was it in like the home
It
decorating
was,
section? So
definitely,
even
definitely.
back.
Never left.
Never left
did
it.
fashion. Never did any of that
Wow.
monkey business. For me, it's always about the house.
Right.
I probably moved every 3 years when I was a kid.
Wow.
So for me, having a home that is stable and nurturing and loving it's kind of an emotional thing for me.
Sure.
And I always feel, and we talked about this, I always feel really emotional about the houses that we go into.
It's true.
You know, you want that house.
But I think that takes it all up to the next level. The level that most agents, most interior designers won't. When you connect emotionally with a house, you're then able to communicate that emotion to other people.
Yes.
You have to have that feeling first, or else you're never going to get to that next step.
I did a staging project in Beverly Hills about, I think it was April of last year. And it was a mid-century modern. It was an awesome house. And the family had lived in it for, I want to say 40 years, and the mother had just passed. The husband had passed 20 years earlier, and nothing had been done to this home since the husband had died. But it was an original mid-century. It was beautiful. It had that flying V roof line, and I walked in, and my sister works with me on projects, and she and I just both fell in love with this house.
Yeah.
And I knew, because there was new construction going up all around, that there's really strong likelihood that it was going to be demoed.
Yeah, I was not going to live.
No. But the agent called and he said, look, let's make this pretty. Let's make this work with what we can. So we went in and we worked on it. And I actually drove by it last week and they demoed it.
Aww.
And it broke my heart
because you connected with it.
Beautiful home.
Right.
And I could feel the husband had been a physician and he had a library full of books, lots of medical journals, but also he had a few naughty things in there.
What? Really?
I know. So, and I felt like
Details.
No. On the radio, can't do that.
Okay.
Podcast.
Okay.
But as I was going through these books, you know the personality of the people in the home by the things that are in the home, and I could tell this guy's personality from this extensive library collection, and I have to say that it looked really good when we were done. We couldn't save it, and it actually. It physically made me sad.
Wow.
So anyway.
Well, what we've talked many times when we go out to these different listing presentations and we meet the people that are there. I mean, when you first walk into a house, what are you trying to do? Like in terms of, are you kind of absorbing it like a sponge? What is that experience for you? What do you? I
do kind of absorb it. It's funny, and we've been on these appointments, and when there's enough of us there, I will have you guys asking me, or the homeowners asking me, what should I do here? What should I do here? And I hate to say this, it's a creative process.
Yeah.
So it takes a few minutes. Sometimes it can take longer than that to walk around the house and go, what does this room need? What's the vibe for this house? What do we want this house to say about itself?
Right. Exactly.
And I know you're going to talk a little bit about your favorite topic in that area.
Because I just did an episode a couple episodes back, and please, I encourage everybody to go back and take a listen to it, about how I approach those kind of listing presentations. Right. And I really try to, quote unquote, find the story of the house. What is the story this home is trying to tell?
Right.
And you're an amazing counterpart in that, and that you kind of go along with me, and you definitely,
Well, I look at it
first
as a buyer, actually.
Yeah. Well, and of course.
You guys are in the business to sell the houses and to market the houses.
Right.
And I want to have that emotional connection.
Yeah.
And because I like to say I'm an interior designer first.
Yeah.
And the stager is a piece of that.
Sure.
But my focus is on improving the home.
Right.
For whomever is going to live there, whether it's the new buyer. Sometimes it doesn't sell. Are we making an improvement that's going to stick with the current owner?
Right.
So I look at it that way first, and then as a buyer.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Right. And one of the things, I think that the key things when I go through a house for the first time is the kind of getting rid of the zingers. Putting the label on the can for each room.
Right.
And making sure that when you walk through, each space has a definition. I find that, people, when they live their lives and things happen, you always have the junk room. You always have the, right? Hands raised. Everybody's got their hands raised. Everybody's got why is there a pool table in the middle of the living room? You don't know what's going on necessarily. And the more that you can label those rooms as, I think this is an X, or I think this is a bar, or this is a library, or this is a thing, the more that it gives the people who visit when they go through the open house or just on a showing, it gives them an idea of, this is what that is. They like to be told what it is.
Take the question mark away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the best ways to take away question marks, do you think?
Oh, give it a direction.
Yeah.
I mean, give it some purpose.
Some direction.
Some purpose. As you know, when we walk through the house, we're walking through with the sellers, usually.
Right.
And most of them, not all, depends how much television they watch, most of them are a little skeptical about the concept of staging.
Right.
Right.
And by the way, one of the things I want to say, even though introducing Pamela as an anti-stager and all that, there is a complete value to doing this. I mean, it's
totally.
I don't want to say that we're down on that, but I think that what we are down on is the normal way that it's done on, HGTV. They walk in and it's like, take everything out of this room now. Back up the truck and bring something else in. And
very sad.
Yeah, it's
very sad.
I think it kind of, you lose the heart of the house almost.
Correct. Correct. I think the houses, they have personality, and they, there's, I don't know how to describe, but we had a house last year and a half ago, I think, that was unfurnished and empty and dilapidated and not in great shape, not in a super great neighborhood, but a darling house. And I walked in. This might sound a little hokey, but I could feel that it had been a happy house.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that to the agent, and the agent mentioned that to the homeowner's daughter, and the homeowner's daughter said, absolutely.
Yeah.
She was like, it was my childhood home. It was a very happy place.
Right.
The houses have the personalities. You got to nurture that.
Yeah. And I think that we're not saying, there's some agents who say that they take all the personality of the owner out, like literally, like take, pictures down and all that kind of. And, fine, I think there's a fine line to kind of dance around with that. But at the same point, I think that it kind of, if you keep some of that in, you're keeping some of that attitude and that, I want the people who are buyers to come in and feel that way.
Right. Well, if you're in a family home, in a family neighborhood, I think it's disingenuous to say no family lives here.
Right.
Right. It's not about having a showplace.
Right.
It's about having a place that people can live.
Right.
People have their lives. Maybe marketing it, decorating it, however you want to describe it, styling it to fit the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're close to Hollywood. We've got lots of celebrities.
Right.
If I walk into the home and he's got a couple Oscars sitting on the mantelpiece.
And by the way, that is not unusual.
No,
we
not
have
at all.
had that, and that's something that I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to get to one of the listing appointments that we actually went on together that I think that probably one of the last ones we went on together, where it was up in Studio City or Sherman Oaks. I think it was, I can't remember. It was like right on the border. Yeah, right. It's safer to say it's on the border. And it was this loved home. That you felt the heart of that home in the seller, walking around and showing you with pride all these places in this gorgeous dining room. It was,
and the view.
Oh my God, that view was just spectacular.
And the stories.
But that was it, right? The stories.
Exactly.
And they were talking about how they used to throw parties, and Linda Ronstadt used to be there, and Carol Bayer Sager. I think we used to own it or something. I can't remember the songwriter. Maybe it's not.
It's not. It'll come to me.
Somebody else.
Probably
Diane
as soon
Warren.
As this is over. Yes, Diane Warren.
It was Diane Warren. Sorry, my mistake. And so many songwriters, female songwriters. And it was just like, and when I was telling them about, now we eventually went to another agent, but there was this.
And didn't that make you sad?
Well, and it did. But not for the reason that I think most people would say is like, oh, you didn't get the commission. No, it was like I had built this kind of marketing plan all around communicating this life.
And it was the connection.
The life of that house.
Yeah, exactly.
That was so different than, you walk into most listings and there's the same pictures you've seen 5,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
There's the same, it's just the systematic, widget. Literally, it's a widget
Right.
with the same, cost plus pillows that you see in 10 different houses, and it's just so sterile, and it doesn't really communicate to people that kind of life,
Right.
the life of the house.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm very passionate about that.
No, I think unique art.
And you were
art
so on board about that
collections.
too, by the way. Pamela was so like, you were feeling the vibe with me, and we made a connection with the owner, but unfortunately there was,
It happens.
It happens. But so okay, what like if when we're going back to what you were talking about in terms of when you first go through, right? So let's talk logistics. There's usually like a budget A, budget B, budget C. Usually, right? Low, medium, high.
Right.
So when someone says, well, let's start with the low. Well, actually, let's start with the high because that seems to be probably the easiest, where it's like money's no object. Are you still doing anything differently in that kind of situation where they say, I don't care what it takes. Let's get this thing sold.
I think money's always an issue.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Of course.
I mean, we did one a few months ago, and she said, how do I do this and get this on the market? I'm leaving town. And I said, you just give me carte blanche and let me do whatever I want, and we get it on the market and we get it sold. And we did.
Yeah.
And then as I'm invoicing her for my time and the stuff, she's like, oh, but I thought this, and this. It's like, okay, but when you say money's no object,
right?
And you go away, then we have to do what we have to do. I don't think the projects necessarily need to all have that. We've done some where we neutralized a lot. I think the most I've put into a staging house getting it ready for sale was about $60,000.
Wow.
And it was a $2 million house, and
Sure.
they wanted to get top dollar for it, and they wanted it to go fast.
But by the way, before everybody gasps about the $60,000,
you told me to start high. I could have started low.
Right. But when you gasp about the $60,000, think about the net on that house. Probably, if there was all sorts of equity in that house, the net could have been spectacular. And you're selling it to a completely different person who's buying a $500,000 house.
Right. Well, and the other thing is you're taking away the question marks.
Yep.
Right.
Totally.
And the asking price, the price that the buyer sees first, is significantly higher right off the bat. So
Right.
you know that you're going to make more money on it. Now, obviously, if you put $60,000 into it, you don't want to just mark it up $60,000. You want to go above that.
Right.
And that's your world. My world is just to sort of make that visually pleasing.
Right.
In this particular house, it was very what we like to call taste specific with regards to the colors. And there were
You were kind of in a box.
Well, a little bit,
Yeah.
and they were very motivated to sell quickly.
Right.
And there was lots of taste specific things that were going to require the buyer to spend that money anyway.
Got it.
And if as you guys know, the buyers come in with a $500,000 budget or $1 million budget or whatever it is, they're shopping at the top of their budget.
Usually.
Pretty much, especially in this area, unless they're very frugal.
They're stretching.
To get that house, right?
Right.
So when they walk in the door, they don't want to have to write a $100,000 check.
Right.
Or they can't do that.
Yeah, it's very rare that you get the people who understand the concept of fixers.
Right.
Where they walk into a
Right.
house and they
don't want that.
They don't want it, and
No.
it's
time consuming. It's draining. They don't know what they're going to get.
Absolutely.
It's
Don't
too
get me
many
wrong.
unknowns.
There are those people out there who are very savvy, and they know that they can, do their own wood floors or they can do
Right.
whatever, and they're going to walk into a house and they're going to want to see question marks, right?
Right.
Because they're hoping,
sure.
and they're hoping that everybody else is confused. Right.
Right. That's how you and I would buy a house.
Well, exactly, right? Because we're like looking for
Right.
the scars, and we're looking for the real. What the hell were they thinking? So the good point of this is my house. When I bought my house, and listen, it was right at the bottom of the market. It was when things had just crashed. I got very lucky. It was as close to the bottom of the market as you can guess, right? And we went into a house, and it was a conventional sale. It wasn't a short sale or some sort of foreclosure, and but it had been on the market for a long time, But everything was on the market for a long time anyway, right? But that it was on the market for a long time and still a conventional sale was very unusual. So we're like, what is going on here? There's something very weird. So we walked into the house and we started looking around, and there are these cabinets filled with dolls, like porcelain dolls, right? Scary, like wake you up in the middle of the night. You know that coming to get you, Tommy, like that kind of stuff. And then we went into the back, like this back room area, and the entire wall was covered with taxidermy. I'm telling you, like, we're talking like dead goats, dead.
You're creeping me out, man.
I'm serious, dude. Right? So this is my house now, right? But here's the real joke up here is that so we did our inspection, and we decided to make an offer because, I mean, my God, look at this. It was in the amazing neighborhood. It was way below what it would be today and all that. But people just couldn't see past it. People wouldn't see. All they got was nightmares, right? I'm looking at this going, I'm like, licking my chops. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. And it was our inspection, and so I went up to and the owner decided to be there. Now, I always advise, if you're selling your house, do not be there at the inspection. It makes everybody uncomfortable and it's terrible. But this guy insisted on being there, and I didn't care because I was a little more savvy than the most people, so I was able to, So I think, I'm going to start a little conversation with him. So I go up to him and I say, his wife's there, so that's who owns the dolls, not the. But by the way, she also dressed the dolls. That was her hobby. She literally would there was like the doll dressing area where they would, I'm creeping myself out here. And, but I went up to him and I said, so who's the hunter? And he goes, what are you talking about? I went, oh, you got a whole room full of dead animals. And he's like, oh yeah, we found them at like some sale and we bought them. Okay. And so it's like, look, that was that person's taste. Mm-hmm. Right? They thought that it was the best. Whenever they came home, they were home. They thought that was the most amazing feeling to be surrounded by these glass dead eyes. But everybody else for 4, 6, 7 months had walked into that house and been horrified. So anyway, where was I going with this? It's a great story. It's a great story. But it's really about how taste. You talk about the specific taste. Mm-hmm. Of people, mm-hmm. and how do you go to a seller and nicely say, all your taste is in your mouth. It's not,
Well, I have an aversion to ever hurting people's feelings.
Yeah.
So
it's got to be tough.
It makes it a little rough.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are more cognizant of the flaws than you think they are.
Right.
Right. Sometimes people go, I know most people wouldn't put in purple carpeting, but I really liked it. Right. And they know that.
Right.
These homeowners that I did that house for, they knew that.
Right.
So they were fine with it. Sometimes it's a fine line, and sometimes it just ticks them off, frankly.
Yeah. But you have to do it, though, don't you? I mean,
you have to do it, but ultimately it's their house and they have to make the decision that works for them. So what I usually say to people,
and by the way, having seen you in action, your bedside manner is impeccable. I mean, she is the softest velvet touch I've ever seen.
Well, thank you for that.
You have the way to break that to them in the most diplomatic way. You've missed your opportunity of being a diplomat, is what I think.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see. But anyway, what I usually start with by telling people is it's all about the pictures.
Yeah,
right?
That's true,
it's
right?
all about the pictures. And I have to laugh because I made a note of this. I was listening to a couple of your podcasts, and in one of them, you said, fire the agent that brings out the iPhone to take pictures.
Yeah, and true.
I thought that is so unbelievably true. Yeah. And it makes such a huge difference. And it is all about those images because potential buyers are looking online before they're ever walking through the front door. It's not like it was 20 years ago.
It's a paradigm change.
Completely.
Yeah.
And they want the walk around. They want the drone flyover. They want when I look at a listing and I see on Zillow or whatever, maybe that's blasphemy here. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, look.
But I look on
here's
whatever
my
it is.
feeling on that, though, is just before you go any further. Zillow and Redfin have their purpose, and that's whether we want that. We can say Zillow is tragically wrong all the time, which they are, and Redfin has whatever their thing.
Yeah.
That's where the eyes are.
Absolutely.
And so if I'm selling a house, I have to be putting my photos there. I have to be doing that, or else
nobody's going to
nobody's seeing it.
So when I look at it and I see 9 pictures, I'm like, next.
Yeah.
I mean, really, because 9 pictures, I'm not going to get.
What are you
for the
hiding?
House.
There's something you're not showing me.
Exactly. And it's not like it's some secret gift I want to unopen, so I'm going to spend my Sunday afternoon schlepping through Los Angeles traffic.
Save the good stuff for when they show up. No.
Right? No, I want to see 47 pictures, and I want them. Maybe not quite that many.
That's not.
But you know what I mean. I want them, and I want them to be beautiful, and I want them to show me everything about the house, so that I don't have to drive there, because I can tell right away. What a house looks like.
But it's very novel to approach that kind of diplomacy in a way that you're kind of putting it on. Look, the photographs don't lie. The photographs. It's not me.
It's not.
It's the photographs that we're going to need to put up there.
Right.
It's a I can understand that's much more of a better angle.
Having family. We talked about personalizing or depersonalizing. I don't think there's anything wrong with having family photos, but when I walk in and the entire foyer is covered with wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling, mismatched frames, varying shades of faded photography all over the wall.
Every time they walked into the house, they probably felt a warm embrace.
Correct.
Every time any buyer shows up, it's not that you don't want 1 or 2 up because it looks like a human being is there.
It's visual distraction.
Exactly.
And we want them to walk in a foyer, for instance. You want to walk in and you want to see the 2-story foyer. You want to see the beautiful chandelier they spent $7,000 on. You want to see all those things, and you get distracted by all this mishmash going on around you.
Got it.
So,
Ron, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say I have high admiration for both of you when it comes to the bedside manner and having to discuss sensitive issues with your clients. When with my business, everything's guideline. Right. So
it's money.
It's all black and white.
It's black and white. It's money. I'm sorry, the underwriter won't take this because of X. It's not, anything to, that they don't like you or, you're not a nice enough person. So, kudos to you for that. And then the other thing is, so my experience with staging and setting up for the home has really just been, television, hearing stories from agents and that type of thing. So my question is the economics behind this. So if I'm a seller, who is paying for that $60,000 or the $20,000? Is that coming out of the realtor's commission, or is that
no? Absolutely not.
No, that is completely, because it's back. You were talking about in the first section about the equity. Right. This is putting equity in their pocket.
Right.
This is not.
They're spending money to make money.
Right. The photography. The agents usually pay for the photography. They pay for the marketing. That's what they bring to the table. But in terms of the value that's coming out of the home, the homeowner is benefiting from that value, so the homeowner is going to pay for it.
Okay, so when they have the $1 million listing, agents that are on there and they're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm paying for the staging cost," that's just lying. That's not.
Well, they might do that as part of their business plan, but they're getting it some other way.
They might be worked into their fee.
Well, you know how you always talk about how closing costs can be like folded in, and people don't realize that there's folding. Instead of
we disclose closing costs in black and white. Right. There is no folding.
but for agents though,
financing in the costs. Yes.
Some guys are going to walk in and they're going to go, I want 6% to sell, basically with 2.5 going to the other side and 3.5 coming my way. You don't want that? Well then, okay, 5%, because and if they do that, then they're folding it into that 1% that they're. Basically they're saying that if I don't pay for it, if you don't pay for it, then I'm going to find another way to fold it in. Basically, then it's going to be 6%. It's they're finding a way in their business plan to basically make it all, marketing plan, whatever, to make it paid for some other way. But now I will say with Pamela, though, as part of what we do, we offer a consult with her that is part of our whole thing, basically. So that's something that they don't do. And by the way, I've seen what her consults are, and it's significantly bigger than what most people do. And now she'll be more than happy to help
Implement
it and make it work and manage it and all that. But what you end up with before she even starts, if she starts, is so much bigger than what most stagers even do, which is this long list of bullet points and hit little mark off things that they need to do in order to make sure that the house is in great condition.
And I think and he's right, the agents do pay me for that consultation, and I do a follow-up report. And I think for you guys, for the agents, it's kind of necessary, because I can say things and they might not like what I have to say, and they never have to see me again, but they have a contract with the agent, right?
Yeah.
So I don't ever like to be the bad guy, because I like to be nice.
Yeah.
But the truth is that I'm going to tell them the stuff the agent really wants them to know, but he wants it to come from. It's kind of like if they've got a credit issue, the agent might know about it, but you have to be the bad guy that points it out to the client, right?
Right.
They want to preserve that relationship, because it's going to be a really intense procedure. The whole process of buying and selling. If we have
to go there, we will have to go there.
Right.
If it's about whether or not you get your house sold or not,
right,
then you bet your butt. I'm not going to be putting that on Pam to say.
No, but it's you're bringing in another professional,
right,
to give.
Right.
So it's not the agent going, oh well, I also do.
And there's strength in numbers. If I've walked through and I've said that purple carpet's got to go, and then she comes in and says that purple carpet's got to go, they've now heard 2 times that maybe that purple carpet's got to go.
Right. It adds to the credibility of your recommendations.
Correct.
Exactly.
Right. So. Let's go back really quickly. We were talking about the 3 different tiers, the big, medium, large. So we started with, small, medium, large. We started with large. Now I want to go back to A, to the tiniest one.
Now that I scared you with the $60,000
Now you got the $60,000 out of the way. So you walk in, and I really want your advice. I really think that you bring value, and you're going to help us, but I just can't. I just don't have the money at all.
Well,
what kind of suggestions do you give to those kind of?
So when we do our staging walkthrough together, usually the agent's there. Sometimes I go alone. Sometimes the agents will just send me off. I've got another agent I work with. He never goes with me. He just says, go handle it. In fact, he was the big house with the
with the flying V
purple carpeting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
by the way, when you said flying V, I thought guitars, but that's me. There's a flying V guitar, and every time you hear it. But I know it's
what is the architect's name? I think it's William Crystal,
okay,
and he designed most of the mid-century properties in Palm Desert or Palm Springs, but also in Beverly Hills. Right. Anyway, so in terms of the budget, the consultation report that I send out can kind of stand alone for somebody that must do it themselves, right? And I have the 3 biggies are clean, completely, clean things you never even imagined you had to clean. Right?
Just while we're here.
Sure.
Go into that. What I know, but go ahead and
windowsills, window troughs, doorknobs, around light switches, just for fun.
Grout in the bathrooms.
Grout in the bathroom, but just for fun when you go home, look at the area next to light switches in your own house. It's yuck.
Because everybody's had their hands there.
And nobody thinks of it. Yeah. So you want to clean all these areas behind the toilet. You want everything to sparkle, super clean. I recommend hiring that done, because the truth is that homeowners, we clean the house all the time. Of course,
and you overlook things.
And you completely overlook things.
And you don't have, one of the things I've noticed is that really good cleaning crews have tricks.
Correct.
That make it even better. Like their time that they're spending is actually more well spent than you scrubbing at it for 4 hours.
Absolutely. And it costs more. It's more than having the housekeeper come once a week.
Right.
But it's that in-depth kind of cleaning that's really significant.
Right.
Clearing out clutter. So while I don't scream about depersonalization, and we didn't talk about this, but I don't also yell about neutralizing everything. I think neutral colors are kind of boring.
Right.
But do clear out the clutter.
Right.
You don't want to walk in and have your bills sitting. You don't want a pile of prescription medications. You just don't want clutter everywhere. You want all the surfaces to be fresh and clean and open, because you want people to see the house, not go, man, these people are not good housekeepers.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the things that one of the things I want to we'll take a little tour around a house and just kind of give suggestions for each kind of area. It's something I want to talk about in terms of like, what do you do in the living room? What do you do in the? But one of the things that you do that I was like, oh, I love her, is the bathrooms. And everybody puts all the soaps and the shampoos and all that on the sink. You say, go out, get one of those baskets. Basically, like a basket, and put it underneath.
Oh, yeah, the shower caddy tray.
Yeah, the shower caddy tray. It's such a nice little thing when you think about it, but it's when you walk into the house and it's like a nice, clean, empty. And so if listeners don't know what
go for it. Because you and I know what I'm talking about.
Explain it, please.
So when you have a bathroom in a house, you've got, if we're talking the master bedroom, you have 2 grown-ups with all their junk.
Yeah.
Cosmetics and shaving gear and whatever.
Yep.
And it sits on the counter. Okay. And it looks cluttery. And so what I tell homeowners to do, and this is true not just bathrooms, this works in kitchens also, or desk areas, whatever it is the stuff that's sitting out is probably the stuff you use 90% of the time, right? The stuff that's underneath is the stuff you get to once a month or less. So rather than worrying about putting away the stuff on the counter first, go and clean out all the stuff underneath first. Box it, store it, toss it, whatever you need to do with it. Clear a spot for a shower caddy, the old dorm, the kinds with the handle. I'm holding my hand up like you guys can see. But a shower caddy that has a handle on the top, nice and generously sized to fit everything you need for the daily routine of getting ready in the morning. And clear a spot under the sink for it. It can stay out 90% of the time. But if you're leaving, if your real estate agent calls you from the curb and says, I've got your buyer here, they want to come in. And by the way, that's how I sold my last house. So you definitely want to take advantage of that phone call.
It happens.
Then you can just gather everything from the counter, put it in the bin, put the bin away. It takes about 30 seconds. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about cleaning.
It's such
super
a
easy.
Handy tip.
And the same is true, in the kitchen.
Yeah.
If you've got a cabinet that you never get into, empty it.
Yeah.
Store that stuff out of the kitchen and use that space for that last minute clutter catch.
That's great, because before you leave every morning, you don't know when the showing, an agent's going to show up and want to get walking through with 2 strangers, and you want to make sure that basically you've that is one of those things where you do want to depersonalize. You really don't want shampoos.
No, I don't want to see somebody's grody personal hygiene.
Loofah.
I mean, ew.
Your hairy loofah.
No. And bath mats are my pet peeve.
Yeah, really. Really, no.
I never want to see a bath mat in if I'm staging a house, I'm like, get the bath mat out of there. And new towels. I like fresh, new matching towels, usually white, unless the bathroom is completely white, then throw some color in there.
Right.
And fresh, clean soap, and then a hand soap next to the sink, no bar soap because they're gross.
Right.
And disposable towels, especially in the powder room on the main floor. So these are good tips if somebody's staging for themselves.
And since we've kind of gone here, so why don't we? No, it's fantastic, because I don't want to flow. We want to the flow of the house. We want to flow. Let's go ahead and go through the different rooms. So we've got now the bathroom. So anything else from the bathroom?
Just keep it clean, keep it fresh, get rid of the yucky old bath mat on the floor.
Yeah.
Fresh new towels are good. Pump soap and disposable hand towels in the guest bathroom, because like it or not, you're going to have one of your potential buyers in your potty.
Got it.
And they are going to be, sitting there, and they're going to be looking around because they've got some time to kill. And if they've left their phone, they're not going to be on Facebook in the bathroom. They're going to be checking out your housekeeping.
Right.
So,
okay.
Then
let's say, bathroom. So let's go bedrooms.
Bedrooms, declutter.
Yeah.
I think a nice, clean, maybe a fresh bedding set can be nice, especially if you've got something mishmashed or old looking, and
definitely worth about $200 or whatever that you'd be paying to do it.
The truth is, you could go to Home Goods and pick up something for $80.
Yeah.
I mean, it need not be, and also if you have a comforter already, and I have this little list that I have on Amazon Prime because I'm an Amazon Prime junkie.
Me too.
There's some great little comforter covers. If you have an ugly one already, just go buy a really inexpensive $40 comforter cover set and shove what you got inside of it.
Yeah.
Give it a nice, clean look, especially important for the photos.
Yeah.
But and this, of course, this is something that if I'm doing it, I do.
Yeah.
But if this is in that low budget, all they're hiring is the consultation and maybe an extra one-off appointment with me.
Right.
For a little bit more detailed walkthrough.
Yeah.
That I would tell them to do. So fresh towels in the bathrooms. easy, cheapo, fresh linens in the bedroom just so it looks fresh and clean. Put away the clutter. You don't need to undecorate.
Right.
You know, we want, if this is a little girl's bedroom, that's another thing. If we're talking about bedrooms, I'm going to go a little off topic.
No, please.
This whole process is really stressful on kids. Like,
Yeah.
really stressful
it's
on
true.
kids. I had my house flooded on Friday night.
Oh.
Not terribly,
No.
but one of the rooms that flooded was our music room, which is also my son, I have a 16-year-old son, his game room.
Okay.
So he does not have his game room because
Oh.
we had to pull the carpet and all the equipment sitting in my foyer.
How is he surviving?
He's playing in his room, but
Yeah.
my point was, it's really, he's 16.
It displaced him.
It's displaced him. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
distressing. And if you have a 10-year-old or your 4-year-old twins
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
it's really distressful for kids. So to go in and say, okay, it's okay, honey, I know that you love your Barbie pink bedroom, but we're going to put it all away.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
No.
You know, the kids need to know that this is still a safe place, and I'm a mom, so it's really important that it
Yeah.
looks good, but we also remember that the kids have to live here until the thing
Absolutely.
sells.
And I have to say that in terms of on my side of things, I think that the kids' rooms, those 10 and under rooms,
Right.
That's where you have the most leeway to keep it what it is.
Exactly.
Because when people walk in, they want to kind of see a child.
Right.
Sometimes it's very heartwarming to kind of
Yes,
walk
exactly.
in and see that kind of, this is a place that kid loves.
Especially
And
if it's a family neighborhood.
Absolutely.
You know, we
Yeah.
want to see that. And now to counterbalance that,
Yeah.
I would say if you have toy boxes in the living room,
Right.
or plastic storage tubs with, every single
Right.
primary colored toy known to man, maybe during the process of selling those could be relocated elsewhere.
Got it. And since we're in the living room, anything else for the living room?
First impression. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to give them my opinion, and every house is different.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my opinion. The agent's going to give their opinion. If they're doubting the two strangers that are in their house, ask their best friend.
Yeah.
What do you see when you walk into my house? Because
And that's huge. It's
It's
something I hadn't even thought of. I mean, in terms of that, you might think that the agent and or stager has an agenda. And
Right.
and if you're hearing, have always thought that if you hear something more than once from some other person,
Right.
you probably need to start giving it some sort of weight.
Right.
And that's fantastic. I didn't even thought about it. It's a great idea to have
little bit
a
of
friend come through.
emotional support.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Um,
Although sometimes they're not going to be very honest with you.
Well,
You have to pick the person. You have to pick the person who's the person who is the most brutally honest with you. I
So
think.
ask your mother.
Ask your mom to come through.
Ask your mom.
No.
Yeah.
But so you know what I'm saying.
I
though.
do.
There are people who just don't want to hurt feelings, and
Exactly.
that's not who you want for that conversation at all.
No. So the
Or
living
ask
room,
your mother-in-law.
The mother-in-law might be a little bit better of a choice, because trust me, she'll tell me what's wrong with me. But yeah.
Anyways, so and the living room needs to be open, not a lot of clutter.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to do, I guess the most important thing is whatever the key feature is in the room.
Yeah.
If there is a great fireplace, highlight the fireplace. Don't have stuff stacked around it. Don't have the furniture set up in a way that doesn't accommodate it. Even if the furniture is better served for the flat screen 60-inch television that you have on the wall, let's move the furniture around a little bit and make that beautiful fireplace a focal point. If the view is the focal point, by all means, we want to take advantage of the view. So whatever the key selling point of the house,
Yeah.
especially in the living room, the kitchen, that kind
100%.
of thing, that needs to be the focus.
Absolutely. Kitchens.
Clean,
Yeah.
and then I do it again.
Like nobody's ever cooked there kind of clean, or what do you think?
I really don't want to walk in a kitchen and see somebody's pasta dinner sitting there. You know what I mean?
No,
It's like,
yeah.
my kitchen has that,
Little
but I
red
don't want
splotches all over the
right,
place.
not so much.
Yeah.
So really, a really thorough cleaning. For some reason, having a bunch of knives sitting out really bothers me.
Oh,
I don't even like knife blocks in my own house. I keep mine in a drawer because to me it's like bad feng shui or something to have
Really?
the knives sitting out. So whenever I can, Ron's
laughing.
It brings. Can I, Tom?
Go, please. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when my brother was born, and he came home from the hospital, I was reaching in the kitchen drawer, and my mom went up to me and said, "Ron, what are you doing?" And I said, "Bye, bye, baby."
Oh, that is bad feng shui. That is bad feng shui. Yeah. Wow, you started early.
Yeah, I did. And it still traumatizes my brother. So I think I'm going to be responsible for years of therapy.
Bye, baby. Jeez, me Christmas. All right.
Anyway, so
yeah.
So clear off unnecessary stuff.
Okay.
Do you really need an espresso maker and 2 coffee makers?
No.
Can you do with one? Can one
You been in my house?
Me too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But we're talking about selling.
But I mean, this isn't every house, and that's the other thing. When you guys are when you're going to sell your house, please don't be these tender little flowers that when you hear things like this, look, it's in everybody's house.
Right.
Don't be so protective. Don't be so like, oh, my feelings are so hurt. No, come on. We're trying to do this for you. That's why we're here.
And it's also about the pictures. I did a house about a year ago, and the photo that wasn't you. And
by the way, Pam, and it's something I've not discussed on the podcast is I do all my own photography.
Yes, he does.
And it's
so if you guys haven't done that, you have to go look at his pictures because they're really beautiful.
Well, maybe we'll give you a link or something to take a look at. But
do that.
It's
gorgeous pictures.
I appreciate
and it makes a huge difference.
Well, but I think I can't. I don't know how somebody. Maybe it's because I'm control freak. I'm a control freak that I just can't. I would imagine somebody else doing it for me.
Right.
So I'm not the guy with the iPhone.
No. I know you're not.
Literally.
But there was a picture in this listing, and it had been on the market for 6 months, and they asked me to take a look at it. And the first thing two things. Number one, I said, well, the Dijon mustard yellow walls throughout the house probably should be repainted, and I was only about the 4th person that told them that.
Yeah.
I gave an entire staging to-do list. She didn't want to hire. This particular client didn't want to hire. She wanted to do it herself.
Right.
And then didn't do any of it.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, she painted, but that was it.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the photos, like you know how I like you to take pictures and take some close-ups of some really interesting things?
Right.
Okay. So they had taken a close-up of the decorative backsplash behind the stove.
Okay.
Sitting right next to that decorative backsplash that the photographer didn't bother to remove, I hope they're not listening to this, was to remove not 1, but 2 completely full knife blocks.
Oh.
And 2 canisters of utensils.
Oh, so
like literally this cluster of stuff next to the backsplash, and it was a zoomed in picture.
So all you're seeing is those
and
utensils.
that was like the first picture on the listing.
Oh, jeez. That's the first picture on the
first
listing?
or second. It was like one of the first.
That's an interesting story you're telling there. If that's the first thing you got
right
up to bat.
And the thing is obviously the homeowner was proud of this backsplash, but nobody took the time just to move the clutter out of the picture.
Right.
And that's where I go back to. It's all about the pictures. It's
so
all
true.
about the pictures.
It's so true.
Anyway.
Very quickly, because we're going to be kind of wrapping up soon, but let's do closets and any other, like I would say, like the entertainment rooms, like those kind of general purpose rooms.
So I think that storage areas in general, closets, garages, if you have the time and you have the wherewithal and you're going to get rid of it anyway,
right,
you might as well do it before it comes on the market. Because if you have everything crammed to the gills, if somebody sees this beautiful house and they open the closet and it's so full you can't even reach your hand in, it instantly sends the message that this house doesn't have enough storage.
Right, that's true.
Right.
There's another level to the story, and I think people don't recognize that we're not criticizing you about your closets. We're trying to tell you that when I walk in psychologically, I'm not just saying, ooh, that's a mess they got there. I'm saying that's not going to be good enough for me.
Precisely. Right. It's not a criticism of the homeowner.
Right.
It's just a statement of fact about the home.
Right.
And so not everybody has the ability to do that. They either don't have the financial resources to take it off site, they don't have the time to go through it and purge what they're not going to move with anyway, or they don't have the inclination to do it in the first place. They're not motivated to do it. And that's everybody's own decision. But if I had my druthers, I would tell people, if you can make the closets at least presentable and not look overloaded, that's going to be helpful to your sale.
Huge.
I know I lived in a house and I had a lot of stuff. I actually rented a storage locker, and I just took everything that I wasn't using, took it to because I was pressed for time, put everything in the storage locker and did my purging from there.
Right.
Which was, kind of a 2-step process, but it worked really well for me.
Yeah.
So everybody has to function at their own level and what works for them.
Got it. And when you are doing the staging, are you working? A lot of people think that stagers come in and they do everything, but it's really you're working with a team, aren't you? I mean, you're working with people who organize, people who are cleaners, people who are landscapers.
Yeah.
I mean, you really kind of manage the whole process.
Every job has its own challenges, and
Right.
sometimes the homeowner wants the full service. Sometimes they can't either afford the full service, or if I have somebody that is working from home, or an at-home mom or husband for that matter, they can manage it on their own. Maybe they don't need me to do that. Maybe they live off-site. Maybe this is a parent's who's passed away's home, something like that.
Right.
So every job is a little bit different. I can manage the different crew, and yes, there's landscaping, the cleaners, a handyman. That was the other thing on my short list is number 1 to clean, number 2 to clear the clutter, and then number 3 is to repair everything that you can afford to repair.
Right.
So I will tell homeowners, and it's in my staging report notes, it's in my the master that I start with.
Right.
Walk around the house and test every knob. Check your doorknobs,
Right.
check your drawer pulls, check the knobs on your kitchen cabinets, check your toilets, make sure they flush properly. All those little teeny tiny things. If you have a buyer walk through your house and they find 3 of them in the first 10 minutes, all they're thinking is deferred maintenance, how much is this going to cost
Absolutely.
me? And we want to take the question marks
Right.
away.
And we had Ian Mayer, our inspector, on, and he gave another one that I thought was a really great tip, is making sure that all your light bulbs work.
Yes.
And all of them, because if they're walking through and they try to turn on a light and nothing happens, it's not just a question of, is there a dead light bulb? Is there a dead light bulb or an electrical problem,
Right.
or something like that? So
Right.
it's another thing that just
And segueing right
it's
into
so simple
that
to take care of.
is most houses need more lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always surprised whether it's a home to sell or homeowners. I'll walk in and I'll say, well, you've got this beautiful bedroom and you've got a very pretty light fixture overhead. Where's your bedside lamps? And people don't even have bedside lamps.
Yeah.
And if I'm staging a home, I invariably will put in 2 bedside lamps, and they have to be, even when I use a staging rental company for furniture, I'm neurotic about it. I want those lamps plugged in. I want them working. I want bulbs there, and I want them on, because it changes the ambiance of the room.
And I can't tell you how many times and this is another thing where you live in the house, you maybe get deadened to different things
Right.
around you. You don't realize that you have a dark house. And I can't tell you how many times I've walked in with buyers into different properties and they go, it's nice, but it's way too dark. I don't have
Right.
any natural light or anything.
Right.
So the more you can bring any kind of light in, take down those really huge drapes and stuff like that really kind of clog up the light coming in the house and things like that. It's just you're trying to make that best first impression. Ron, you had something you wanted to...
Yeah, I was going to add, so the lender, we're going to be looking at making sure that you have smoke alarms and you have CO detectors and that there's no exposed wiring and you have to have a central heating source, and you also have to make sure that all the plumbing, all of that is completed, right? So these are all things that you would have on your checklist.
On top of it. So basically what you're saying, Pamela, then is to basically, if I have a $500 budget, you're going to help prioritize
Right.
basically what should be in that $500, but hit everything you can with that $500.
Yes. Start with the most offensive things first.
Yeah.
And go, I think that order: clean, clear, and then repair any items that you can afford to do. And at $500, the homeowner is going to be doing it on their own, honestly, because you're not going to find, I think the average job for the cleaner to come in is between $900 and $1,200.
Right.
Now it's 4 people working all day.
Right.
And
you're
they're
getting
cleaning
it
windows.
back.
And
You're getting
right.
it back, folks.
Right.
Listen, everybody thinks about it like, oh, I'm not going to spend $1,200. I'm not.
Right.
No. It's not that there's an even trade where you're just dropping $1,200, and even if you're doing it so that later on you're getting more money on the back end, you're getting a
That's
higher
correct.
net. You are pulling hopefully $3,000 back at least
Right.
to pay for it, and then some. So that's where you really need to stop thinking about staging as a burden that you guys it's just money being flushed down your toilet. There is a reason for it to get you more money on the back end.
Right. And make every space have a purpose.
Yeah.
You and I worked on a house about a year ago.
Yeah.
Just a year ago, actually.
Yeah.
In Topanga.
Yes.
Where they had 3 home offices in this
3.
house. 3 home offices.
3.
And 2 bedrooms. And God love the sellers. Mr.
God bless
Seller
him.
had no idea why I was saying we need to make 2 of these offices into bedrooms. He thought I was insane. He's like, there's no closets. I said, yes, but you've got space for closets.
Right.
And it's, a $500 upgrade for a buyer to throw the closets in here. And he couldn't fathom it, but his wife
Understood.
thankfully overruled him.
Yes.
And
No.
we created bedrooms
Yeah.
out of nothing spaces. And I'm not sure how quickly the house sold, but I want to say within a week.
Well, it was relatively quick.
Yeah.
And it was and for the market, it's such an
It's an
if you guys
eclectic
don't know,
area.
Topanga is such an eclectic weird in the price point on it.
Right.
And it was surprising how quickly it did go.
Yeah.
So
But it was,
and your mark was your work
creating,
was flawless.
Thank
It was
you.
wonderful.
But creating something out of giving every space a purpose that
Yeah.
so the buyers, again, it's all about taking away question
Label on the
marks.
can. Label on the can. Well, listen, it's about time to wrap up here, and I think we haven't even. There's so much more that I want to talk to you about, especially also in terms of when they actually do buy the house. What interior decorating things can you do for buyers, and possibly on a budget, or and
That's my favorite part.
Well, that's your specialty. So, yeah, I definitely I can't wait to have you back on. I hope that you'll
That'd be fun.
come back.
Of course.
Is there any contact information that you'd like to give everybody, just so that people can get in touch with you?
Sure. My website, PamelaSandallDesign.com.
Can you spell it out for them, just so they know?
Pamela. Sandal is 2 L's at the end.
That's
my
why
husband,
I'm saying,
I know.
you
My
know.
husband likes to say like the shoe with an extra L on the end.
Got
That's how
it.
long I've been with my darling guy. Design.com. I'm also on House, the House website. I have
HOUZZ. I can't believe I have to tell you that too, but they don't spell house the normal way.
They don't.
HOUZZ.
But I'm on House, and if you just Google my name, I come up all over the place.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyway.
And they can probably find you from there.
Yes.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank
It was
you for
so
having me.
wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again. Well, that's about it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them for us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clarified Realty Podcast, all one word. Like I've been saying here, you can email me directly, guys. This is my actual email address, tom@clarifiedrealty.com. For more exclusive bonus content and advice between episodes, please check out our website, www.clarifiedrealty.com. Also on our homepage, you'll find links to helpful buyer and seller guides that can give you some great information for starting your home buying or home seller process. So check those out. I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My handle for all 3 of those is @Clarified Realty. I beg of you, come on, guys, come on. I'm looking out for you. Please, please, please leave feedback and reviews on iTunes or in the comment section on our page. My amazing theme song, Hey Now, is from the band Wolf. That's Wolf with 2 F's. And please go check them out and like them on SoundCloud. We'll also leave a link to the song in the credits if we can. They rock so hard, the only label you can put on their can is badass. And just a little disclaimer, Ron and I are licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate. My license number is 01715353. Ron's is
Guaranteed rate NMLS 2611, NMLS ID 558706, California.
The advice we give is only for properties located in the state of California. For all other states, please contact your local real estate agent or real estate professional. And that's about it. Ron, you good?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming by, everybody. And remember, the greatest thing you can ever do is make someone feel at home. Take care, and we'll see you next week.